Welcome to Soul Navigation with world-renowned psychic life coach and professional astrologer, Meredith. In the next hour, Meredith and her guests encourage you to tap into your soul's desires and begin to take down the barriers that stand between you and your intended destiny. Here's your host, Meredith.
Hi everyone, welcome to Soul Navigation with Meredith Bromke. I am Meredith, your psychic life coach, professional astrologer, and host here on the Seventh Wave Network. I'll bring you a fusion of gifted psychics, spiritual healers, mystics, past life regressionists, astrologers, and other get-real experts to help you better understand your life purpose and your soul's contract in this lifetime. Also, please feel free to explore more of my work at soulnavigation.com. Today we have a very, very special guest, the absolutely amazing author and astrologer, Jan Spiller. We're going to take a look at our past lives, our life purpose in this lifetime, and possibly even our next lifetimes. And Jan will be working with us. Jan is a world-renowned astrologer. She is absolutely a brilliant author on the subject of past lives, next lives, and life purpose, karmic compatibility, finding out your special talents. She's written 3 sensational books, including New Moon Astrology, Astrology for the Soul, and Spiritual Astrology. Jan is one of the most inspiring and uplifting astrologers I have ever spoken to and worked with. Her website is just beautiful, and I encourage you to check it out. Jan, welcome to my show. I'm so excited to have you with us.
Well, thank you, Meredith. I'm glad to be here.
We've waited a long time to have you.
Well, thank you.
Tell us, Jan, a little bit about what you're currently working on and a little bit about how astrology found you.
The way astrology found, I was always interested in astrology, even as a child. I remember, just by myself kind of thinking, okay, so the sun is the last planet that we choose before coming on Earth, the last placement we choose. It's the only non-karmic planet in the chart. I was seeing all these things even before I really knew astrology. So I think I had a chip in my brain that's connected to astrological knowledge.
Interesting. And what made you dig deeper? Because your work goes so deep and so beyond what a typical astrologer's work is about.
Well, what made me go deeper is a true desire, a true passion to find a path that would lead me to unconditional love.
Oh, how beautiful is that?
So, and I knew if I could understand people's individual differences in the right way, the compassion would be there so that I could understand them without being hurt, but with total love and being able to help. And that's what astrology took me to.
You know what I love about your work is that you distill it down to a level where even if you don't study astrology, you can understand your work, your messages. And in your book, Astrology for the Soul, this is my favorite astrology book ever written. Out of all of them, they are so, not just out of your work, but out of all the books I've ever read and worked with, this book really changed my life. And then to think that here I am years later talking to you on the radio.
Well, thank you, Meredith.
How exciting for me.
I'm telling you, being involved in this work changes everybody involved in it. Like when that book cost me 2 years out of my life. That was a very intense project.
Well, it gave me 35 years.
Well, good. Well, it seems to be very helpful for people, so that makes it all worthwhile. We're all in this together. So
it's also pretty intense. Like, it seems like you give beyond a wealth of information. Right when I think I've learned everything there is to learn about myself, my Scorpio South Node is what we call that. You give me more information.
Oh,
it's
that's
endless.
Fabulous. That's fabulous. Well, hopefully the energy in the books has so much integrity that when people read it, they actually connect with the energy and can see other avenues of information for themselves.
Right. How wonderful. Well, let me ask you, are you working on anything right now that we should know about?
Yeah, actually I'm working on what could well turn out to be really the best book I've done so far from the point of view of freedom, to knowledge of ourselves and others.
I cannot imagine a better book than Astrology for the Soul, but we'll have to go read it.
Well, this is the next step. It takes, our life purpose, what Astrology for the Soul did for the individual, this book does for relationships.
Oh, my goodness.
So it's all about why other people are in in our lives, what gifts they're bringing us, past life connections. You can see that very clearly through, the nodal connections in the charts. So it talks about, the gifts that they're bringing us, and if we're open to receive it, our relationship with them works.
Right.
If we're resisting it and trying to get something else from them other than what they're trying to give us, everything gets blocked and frustrating.
Let me ask you, Jan, do you believe that we choose our karmic connections before we incarnate?
Yeah, and they're generally people we've known from before, And it's like they did that to us in some past life. We did it to them the next life. They did it to us. It just goes on and on.
Yeah, right.
And then so, those are like karmic connections where we're working something out with those souls that we've been close to in a way that we didn't really resolve. And there are other souls, I think, that we've been with through incarnations that we've really helped or that have helped us. And, it's like we're working it out in a way with the same people oftentimes.
Right. And sometimes if somebody helped us in a past life, do we come back in this lifetime and sometimes help them? Is there an exchange?
Well, the love, of course.
And also, do you believe in gender switching? Can we switch genders, switch roles? Can I be your mother in this lifetime and your child in your next lifetime?
Well, yes, as far as genders go, I've personally experienced a few past life regressions, which I was so pleased when they were introducing your show, when you mentioned about past life regression work. I have found that so valuable personally.
Right.
And much to my surprise, here I am, just 100% female in this incarnation. The first lifetime I tapped into, I was very male. I was a big guy with hairy legs, and boy, was that a surprise.
A lot of people, especially men, they don't like knowing that they were a woman in a past life. They struggle with that.
Interesting. That's so interesting. Well, as we develop the different parts of our nature, sometimes a different gender is appropriate to help bring that about in the easiest way.
Sure.
Talk about as roles. Sure, one time someone might be your parent, the next time your child, next time your best friend. Absolutely.
Talk about, you and I had this conversation about a month ago, but talk about if the soul chooses its own birth time and how that works in astrology from your perspective.
Well, what I know for sure is a moment when the soul takes it, through the body, takes its first breath. Boom, that's the imprint. That's what the astrology chart is. That's the first connection that the soul makes tangibly with the outer environment of planet Earth. So that's the blueprint we're working with. And I know this for sure because, as you know, through astrology, we can predict very easily when certain opportunities are there, when events happen. It's so mathematically accurate. So I know for sure we are responsible for that moment. Now, I think that people who go through the normal process of birth, through the birth canal, are comfortable with that. Sometimes I've had a lot of experience with people that maybe their time changed because of C-section or whatever else was going on, that feel like, oh gosh, I missed my moment. I've had that consistently. But even for those people, on some level, yes, I think the soul did choose that entry moment. And for sure, by taking responsibility for purifying and enjoying that moment of our birth chart, that's where the victory is.
Oh, interesting. Now, I wanted to know, do people, in your perspective, do people sometimes, are they destined for tragic lives, or do you believe that's a choice, a free will choice of how they manage their own energy once they get here?
Boy, that's a tough question.
I know, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, it certainly is an interesting one. I think that all of us experience tragedy in our lives until we learn the lessons necessary to not attract and create those kind of circumstances. So tragedy is an opportunity really to figure out how to get it right. Now, I'll answer this in one way. In another way, certain tragedies maybe need to happen so that we can learn certain lessons. I mean, that's ultimately, this is a very tough planet Earth.
Right.
It's all the time up and down, and everybody experiences tragedy. Some seem to have more of those kinds of situations than others, and for sure to be born in a third world country is tougher. Or so, I would think. Maybe it isn't. But at the end of the day, whatever we're going through, the only opportunity for clear winning is to choose to grow from that experience.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever we're in, if first we say, okay, all is well, this is, the infinite's in charge, God loves me, and so this is somehow a gift, and we look at it that way, then we'll get some kind of growth or progress out of it. And that's where the victory is. It isn't in what befalls us in life, but rather in how we respond to it.
Right, exactly. Well, do some of us incarnate to be a concentration camp victim, or do we incarnate into an energy and then the circumstances are presented to us? So do we choose our circumstances or the energy and the lesson?
I would say both. Like if one came into Nazi Germany in the early 40s and came into the Jewish heritage, they were set up for that path of the concentration camp.
Right.
And they had all kinds of choices along the way about whether or not to leave Germany. In other words, it was all part of the whole thing.
Right.
And the bigger picture of that whole thing was that ultimately Israel got founded. And the world said it's not okay anymore to let genocide happen.
Right.
And we've been growing in that direction ever since.
So you find that's how I work. And this is why I mentioned that you're one of the most inspiring astrologers that I've ever worked with or spoken to, because you find the bigger message.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And a lot of people are not capable of doing that. That's where my work feels rewarding, and I'm sure yours does too, where you can give a person a bigger message inside the pain.
Absolutely. And for me, to see the bigger picture is actually a matter of survival.
Exactly.
It's the only place that things make sense, because blaming others doesn't work. It just feeds them power.
Living as a victim doesn't work.
Yeah. So it's like, ultimately, what is practical? What's going to make me personally happiest? For all of us, And by following that path of what actually works to make us happiest, that's a very clear road to pursue in life. Like, we're not happy if we're blaming others. We're not happy if we're angry.
Right.
And we have a choice about whether or not, how long we choose to indulge in those states.
I know, but some clients oftentimes feel that they are living as a victim of this world that is happening to them, and they don't realize that they're creating it. They have the opportunity to create a new approach.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it. And all I know is that when you get to the end of pain, then you start taking a look at how you can do things differently. But everybody's got to get to the end of their own pain.
Okay, so I think we've got Jared next. I'm not positive, but I think Jared from Mercer Island. Are you with us?
I am.
Yay, I was correct. Okay. So you have a question, and I think we've got your birthday.
You're at 3/21/75, Jared?
That's right.
Okay. So it's interesting. Your whole life lesson, it has to do with beginning to trust your conscience, your own self. It's learning to trust your own inner knowing of things and follow that path rather than the path of logic. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does.
And this often in your case is going to mean like a huge leap of faith, because it's scary to trust that instead of what logically would make sense in terms of what's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
So, what is your current situation? Is there anything in particular that's on your mind?
I've had 7 or 8 major changes in my life in the last 6 months.
Wow.
Including my dad dying.
Oh, I'm sorry. Doggone.
My parents coming and visiting me for the first time in 12 years. Just a lot of, major shifts in how life is going for me. And I'm just kind of a little directionless right now, which doesn't sit well for me, because I like to have things planned and, that kind of thing.
You've got a logical sequence of how things ought to come down.
Absolutely. And I feel like I've been very powerful and very clear in how I've dealt with each of these issues over the last 6 months. And I feel like I've given them a lot of space to kind of be experienced. I haven't just shut them down. You know, if it comes up for me that I miss my dad, I miss my dad. You know, I've not tried to be too logical with a lot of that stuff. But now I'm just kind of feeling like I need a positive focus, and I'm not really sure how to generate that or what that could look like for me right now.
Okay. There are two things going on here. First of all, Mercury just came out of a very serious retrograde cycle. It was retrograde between July 4th and July 28th, so everybody is really mixed up. There was, you know, during the month of July, there was so much scrambling in the atmosphere that everyone is like, wow, where am I? So, yeah, and with your South Node in Gemini, Mercury, when it goes retrograde, affects you very, very directly. So I would say, first of all, let the dust settle for a couple more days. It's direct now. So let it just be easy with the fact that you don't know exactly where you're going. There have been a lot of ingredients that have been added that are shifting your direction. And there's something new to follow now that goes beyond the plans that you've made thus far. So if I were you, do you meditate at all, Jared?
Not very consistently.
Okay. You have that power of meditation.
Jan, Jared is a 0 degrees Aries with Jupiter at 0 degrees Aries as well. If that tells you anything.
Yeah, you want to go out there and do stuff, and that 0 degrees Aries is very significant because that's 0 degrees of a cardinal sign. You're very much in touch with the whole planet. So
it's in the 8th house, though, so he could harness that meditation energy.
Okay, what house is in what node in?
What house is the North Node in? The North Node is in his 4th house.
Okay.
So that's helpful.
Yeah, very helpful. So, Jared, I think the thing to do is to go to where your power is. That's, you know, this is a tough planet. Go right for where you are the most powerful. And that would be in your home, sit down, and just get in touch with yourself inside. And a new direction that smacks a bit of adventure will start to emerge within you. And it may be real different than the way you thought you were going.
Instead of go, 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 do, do, do.
Well, you're an achiever, Jared. Yeah.
Yeah.
From past lives, you're a big-time achiever, so you're used to being on top of things. So for you to sit down and to let your next direction come from within yourself takes more time than what you're accustomed to. But if you do that, you'll get a sense of excitement about something, and when you follow that path, it's going to be a lot more rewarding for you than what you've been following up until now.
Okay.
Jared, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you both very much.
Okay, bye.
Thanks.
We are going to go to Nancy in the Seattle area. I have a lot of Seattle callers because that's where my client base is.
Oh, okay.
So, Nancy, are you with us?
I am.
And your birthday is 9/24/1968.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Jan, do you want me to run the chart?
Yeah, do you have it or not?
Yeah, I can do it.
Yeah, please. Do you have the time and all?
Yep, I've got the time and all. Just take me 1 second. Nancy, what's your question for Jan while I run your chart?
I would like to see about a relationship chart with my husband, and I feel like it's a newer relationship, but I'd be curious to see what our relationship was like in past lives.
Okay, I can run both those for you.
Okay.
How deep it goes, and also I guess the second question is whether or not in this lifetime you can see whether or not we have children in our lives together.
Oh. I don't know.
Now,
can you do that?
Nancy, it's so interesting that you would ask that question. Do you want children? I mean, what does Nancy want?
I would like children, and I just don't know if that's something that's going to happen, though.
Well, a lot of it depends on your own personal initiative. You've had a lot of past lifetimes of being the support person for another person. I mean, you've been married many, many incarnations, so you know all about how to be a team player. You came in this lifetime, everybody knows that when it comes to being a team player, Nancy is there. You support everyone. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So this lifetime, it's like, again, been there, done there, got done that, got the T-shirt. This lifetime, it's more that where you're going, what's going to work for you, is to get in touch with your own impulses, with with the energy inside you that supports Nancy, not that supports the other person first.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm asking, what does Nancy want? That's
interesting that you say that, because with this question, I've actually been dealing with that, because I feel like, well, especially with children, it needs to be a team effort. I feel like it just can't be what I want.
Well, the trick here, yes, I hear what you're saying. And the trick here is to put what you want on the table with your husband first. You say, look, I want children. Now, is that something you want, or do we need to, like, kind of reevaluate what we're doing here? And then let him tell you what he wants. But see, at least your position's out there, and you can come up with some kind of compromise. He may say, I'm really worried about having children. Can we afford them? Can we support them, etc.? And then you might come back and say, well, what if we start with having one child and see where we go? Because that would be a compromise, right?
Are you asking, Nancy, on a physiological level, on the physical plane, if you're capable of it, or are you asking on the philosophical level?
I guess also physiological, or and I just didn't know if there was, putting our charts together, you saw that as part of our karmic, if there was anything in our charts that suggested that was a purpose we'd have together, or not, or was neutral.
Jan, do you want to know their nodal relationship? Okay. They both have North Node in Aries, and hers is 9 degrees and his is 12. And then they both have South Node 9 degrees, of course, in Libra.
And what house does
4th and 10th.
Okay, so Nancy, what is your husband's first name?
Rich.
Okay, so
Nancy's
Nancy's North Node falls in Rich's which house?
Okay, well, Rich's North Node falls in Nancy's 4th.
Oh, okay.
And let's see. Okay, and then I'll go the other way. It takes just 1 second, Nancy.
That's okay. That's all right. This is the main one we needed.
Okay.
Do you see anything there physiologically that would be a problem with her 4th house? Rich's purpose in your life, Nancy, is to give you a home.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, she does have Saturn in the 4th house.
In the 4th or 5th?
4th. It does on the 4th.
So what that indicates is that indeed he's helping you with doing what you really need to do. Where's her North Node natally?
It's in the 4th.
That's right. It's in the 4th. And so this is all about home and family, Nancy. Apparently you've been some kind of a public marriage partner. You know what I mean? You've done things for name and fame and status.
Yeah.
Supported your partner for those reasons.
Now, his North Node falls in his 10th, natally, and her North Node falls in his 9th.
Oh, okay, in his 9th. Okay, so your purpose in Rich's life is to help him get more in touch with spirituality, basically.
Yeah. Both those things sound really right.
Yes. So I would say that your best bet at this point is to really get in touch with your gut instincts and to share with him what you're feeling on a gut instinct about what, like, I feel like I would like to try to have children, and how do you feel? He has some fears about family because he didn't come from a very good family environment in this lifetime, and he has a lot of past incarnations of real difficult family stuff. He looks at his family as interfering with the purposes that he's supposed to do in this lifetime.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's his concern, But on the other hand, so he's wanting to get out into the world this lifetime, and you're wanting to get into the home. So I guess maybe there's a question of mutual support here, where you could say, if in fact you want a child, I don't know whether you do or not, but if you get in touch with your gut instincts, you will know. And then maybe put it to him from that point of view, I need your support in helping, in having a child, and I will support you in going out in the world and doing your career 100%.
Okay.
How wonderful. Thank you for calling, Nancy. Jan, this work is so exciting, isn't it?
Yes, and it's so helpful to me that you have your computer and you can give me the astrological information I need to put it together.
Yeah, I can work pretty fast. Do you find that, when you marry your South Node, okay, so when you marry your own South Node, or let's say your sun sits on your partner's South Node, is it kind of a redo?
When the South Node, when the South Node in one person's chart conjoins the north node, conjoins a planet and the others, that is always a very, very specific past life contract connection. That was not completed in that past life.
Oh.
Generally what that would mean, and I would have to see the whole chart, but generally what that means is in the past life, the person with the south node supported the sun person in name and fame and glory at their expense.
Oh.
It's a little bit like seeing that a person has a certain talent for singing, and even though they're not really, and exploiting that person, right? Oh, you're real good at that singing, exploiting them so that you can make money out of it.
I see.
Or in some way...
Exploiting the south node person, the sun person.
No, the south node person is the exploiter.
Oh, I see.
The planetary person is the exploited.
Wow.
Okay? And this is just part of human growth and learning and development. We all play both roles until we learn that it doesn't work out, when we do that. So there's no judgment about this. But so, in other words, the south node person in this lifetime has come back to take energy away from the sun person in the ways that they're misusing their ego, and to support them in using it in ways that are really in their best interest.
Fascinating. So we've got another caller, Jan. We've got Carrie on the line, and we got her birth information, April 18th, 1967. Carrie, are you with us?
Sure.
Hi.
Good.
Hi.
So we erected your chart on the break, and we see that you've got your North Node in Taurus in the 9th house. What does that mean for Carrie, Jan?
Well, Carrie, this time the basic thing you're working with is developing a sense of your own self-worth.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Sure.
Yeah, it's like it had so many lifetimes you know all about power, politics, and not to be rude, but in past lives you've dealt with some pretty unsavory people.
Sure.
So, yeah.
In this life, too, believe me.
Well, I didn't want to say that, but yes.
Okay.
And so what happens is you're so accustomed from your past incarnations to supporting powerful people and putting aside your own values to support what they think is important that it's been all too easy for you to be, let's see, we're still here? Okay. To kind of be led down, give up your own power for the sake of supporting whatever their purposes are. And in that process, you've lost a sense of your own self-worth. You became dependent upon their validation and lost what was really important to you. So this lifetime is about beginning to recognize that you are enough. Your energy is enough. And when you start building in directions, you're a tremendous builder of your own thing. And when you start building in directions that make you feel good about yourself, they're in alignment with what you think is important, that's when you're on track.
Wow.
And for you, that basically has to do with going in spiritual directions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh, my gosh.
Where to start?
Yeah, well, as far as the self-worth thing, can you see some practical things? Are you on a spiritual path of some kind?
Yes, for sure. Definitely.
Okay, that's
also, isn't the ninth house publishing as well?
Yes, but I'd have to see the whole chart to see if that. The main thing here, I think, is that interesting to you? Actually, to Carrie publishing, is that an interest for you?
Yeah, I'm actually in the process of writing a book right now as we speak. So yeah, it's definitely an interest, and it's something that I've thought about doing for a long time, and it actually probably has to do with some of the unsavory characters in my past. So it all makes perfect sense, really.
Okay. Yes, the 9th house is very good publishing karma. It's also very good for legal matters. So, boy, that's kind of a toughie. I would suggest that in terms of getting your book out, first of all, I think just writing it will help put you in touch with the bigger picture of what was going on.
Yeah, that's what I
Should it take a spiritual tone or theme, Jan?
Yeah, I think that's part of what you're doing, hopefully. Isn't it, Carrie? Seeing a larger view that you feel good about in terms of the message you're imparting in the book?
I hope to, yeah, I hope to, and I'm not sure if this is the actual vehicle that I'll do that with, but I hope to do that in the future. Definitely, I think that's the ultimate goal. But it seems like this is just kind of the beginning of a bigger process.
You have very great connection with the angels directly, you know, like guides. You're very, very intuitive. So I would allow, if I were you, I would begin to partner with your intuitive process, the messages that you get from your guides and angels. Do you know what I mean here when you're listening or have an inner knowing about something?
Yeah.
And start allowing the imprint of that morality that is coming through to affect the way you're seeing the power plays of what's going on.
Okay.
In your characters. And see if that doesn't produce a combination that you feel really happy about.
That's where I've been having difficulty, is just finding the balance is exactly what I'm trying to say with this. But I just figure by the end, you know, it will all kind of make sense and come together. So hopefully, you know, that's what I've been trying to do ultimately. But I still have question marks around what exactly my intent is and what exactly the finished product is going to be.
Right. Beautiful. And that makes perfect sense because you know all about helping other people, you know, what their needs and motives are, but getting in touch with your own takes a little more time. So I think that, what kind of spiritual path are you on?
Well, it's kind of been multiple roads. I'm in recovery. I've been sober for 8 years, so that involves, you know, a fair amount of spirituality, I believe.
Absolutely. That's a very clear path. Well, the reason I ask that is because prayer or meditation, you know, using either prayer or meditation with the intention of getting in touch with what's really important for you to do with the book, with your own values, what you would feel good about, I think you'll start getting some revelations that will give you that guiding post in terms of the purpose of what you're doing.
The direction?
Exactly.
Good.
Thank you so much, Carrie, for calling in. We have to close our show now.
Thank you.
How do we know when we've attained self-mastery?
You know, it's a process. It happens in different areas at different times, and we know it because we don't have an issue with that area anymore.
When we become peaceful?
Yeah, and it just works. It's abundant. Like if you are you in self-mastery over money? It depends. Is money easy for you? Is it no longer an issue? Or is it still an issue?
Right.
With me, the only area that hasn't been mastered is the area of romance. You know, I'm still on that. You know, I'm still in process of all the stuff from past lives and all the misunderstandings I've held.
So it's not when we've given up. It's when we just no longer have an anxiety about it.
Well, we not only don't have an anxiety, we have prosperity in that area.
Oh, prosperity. That's beautiful.
Because once we're clear with it, all of a sudden all the goodies come in.
I love it. I love it. It's wonderful. Well, this has been so incredible. Jan, thank you so much for joining me today. You are so insightful.
Thank you.
It was just such a joy. What a fun show. You can find me at www.teamsoulnavigation.com. And once again, thank you for being with us here today.
The new home for visionary positive change.
Thank you for listening to Soul Navigation. To contact Meredith or set up a private reading, visit soulnavigation.com. Tune in next Wednesday for another thought-provoking and entertaining hour on Soul Navigation with Meredith.